Is it after that, that's when you started pageants? Or when did that come about?
Right. So the pageant world to me is something that it was an interesting season of life. It was nothing that I was ever groomed for. It was nothing that was ever on my radar.
Erika Kirk just got caught slipping again, and this situation is getting messy fast. Another story is starting to crack, this time tied to her Miss USA past, and people are definitely looking at her sideways right now. Turns out Erika was already deep in the pageant scene back in 2009, standing on that stage right next to Lindsay Halligan. That Lindsay everyone keeps bringing up. That detail alone has people connecting dots real quick, and to many, it doesn't feel random at all.
I wanted to play professional
You're a
basketball.
tomboy.
That was my thing. I remember getting something in the mail when I had come home from school one summer, and it was like, hey, you should compete at Miss Arizona USA. Someone nominated you. And I was like, I don't know who would nominate me for that, but okay. So the pageant world for me was something that was not a form of narcissism. It was more along the terms of being a steward for my state, especially as it hit our 100th year celebration.
Fast forward a few years, and suddenly things start lining up a little too perfectly. Lindsay later steps into a powerful legal role, and not long after, Erika lands a spot on the U.S. Force Academy board under Trump. That's when the questions really start pouring in. Because now it's not just about qualifications anymore. It's about connections, timing, and who's really opening doors behind the scenes. As some are saying, it's less about what you know and more about who you know. Now, people are starting to wonder if this pageant circle is about more than crowns, smiles, and photo ops. Who's really helping who move up?
So the pageant world to me is something that it was an interesting season of life. It was nothing that I was ever groomed for. It was nothing that was ever on my radar.
We didn't have the opportunities to do certain things because we were so caught up thinking, okay, after Miss USA, we'll move to LA and we'll become, famous because our agent is going to book us for XYZ, and then we'll somehow get on a reality TV show.
Living in China and doing a lot of work with the victims from trafficking, work with a orphanage in Romania.
Who's pulling strings quietly while everyone else watches the spotlight? The whole thing is starting to feel deeper than it looks on the surface, and it doesn't stop there. Not even close. Things take an even more uncomfortable turn when new receipts start popping up. Now, some are questioning Erika's marriage to Charlie, saying it might not have been some spontaneous love story after all. There's talk that it could have been lined up way before they ever went on that first date, and that's what really has the people talking. And that kind of talk is getting louder by the minute. Now people are whispering about setups, influence plays, and relationships being built for control instead of real love.
Erika Franzway, 23, Arizona.
Erika was once mistaken for Cameron Diaz, which led to an invitation aboard a luxurious yacht. Sadly, she was booted when they realized it wasn't Cameron Diaz. You're not on a yacht when you're Arizona.
It's not just gossip anymore, it's turning into full-on speculation that something bigger could be going on behind the scenes. The questions are getting bigger and way louder too. People are asking how many situations like this could be happening quietly inside political circles without anyone noticing. And through all of it, all eyes stay locked on Erika. Everything coming out lately, from those CIA-related clips to rumored connections tied to that Romania charity situation, has people completely stunned and trying to piece it all together. And then it gets even wilder. Netanyahu connections, Trump pageants, and that trip to Israel where Erika just happened to run into Charlie. A lot of people are not buying that coincidence at all.
Erika's been involved in pageants from the very beginning. Her mother is definitely the person who pushed that. I actually do believe that Erika loved basketball. There's no question she plays basketball. But this idea that she didn't want it is just not true. It's so objectively not true. Erika, without question, and anybody who's being objective and honest and looking at her history, at the people that she dated, and the people that she wanted to be in close proximity to, can guarantee to you that this girl wanted to be famous, like very badly wanted to be famous one way or the other. And one of her exes was very clear. He said to me, I was warned by another person in beauty pageant world that girl will do anything to get to the top, and her mother will do anything to help her get to the top.
The way her background lines up is starting to feel less like a normal life story and more like a carefully planned blueprint for influence moves. Every detail seems to stack on top of the next, and it's raising eyebrows everywhere. When you really step back and look at how everything played out, one heavy question keeps hanging in the air. Did Erika already know what was coming for Charlie this whole time? That's the part that has people fully locked in and questioning everything, and this is where things really start to fall apart. Because Erika has tried to downplay her pageant history again and again. She even said in an interview that she joined Miss Arizona on a random whim after getting something in the mail. She claimed the 2012 Miss Arizona competition was her first step into that world. It all just came out of nowhere. It sounds neat and simple, but that version is not holding up anymore.
Donald Trump loves a beauty pageant, and by his own admission, he was no stranger backstage while owning parts of 3 different pageants for nearly 2 decades.
You know, they're standing there with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
When Erika moved into that real estate role in
Now, new receipts have dropped, and they're telling a completely different story. A rare photo from the 2010 Miss Colorado USA pageant, actually held in late 2009, just resurfaced, and the lineup in that picture has people talking again. It's not just some forgotten snapshot either. This one is raising serious eyebrows everywhere. You can clearly spot Erika on the right wearing a blue dress, and on the left in white and gold, that's Lindsay Halligan. Yes, the same Lindsay everyone keeps mentioning right now. That detail alone has people doing double takes because this isn't just some random throwback moment popping up out of nowhere. Now, here's where things take a sharp turn. In September 2025, Lindsay was appointed interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Big move. But just 1 month later, a judge ruled that Trump's appointment of Halligan was illegal. That's when people really started stepping back and looking at the bigger picture. Because the timing, it feels way too wild for a lot of people to ignore.
I currently live with my roommate who was Miss North Carolina 2012. And we competed together. And it's so funny because we always laugh about how right after the pageant, it's one of those things where the pageant excels you, but also really holds you back. Like, we didn't have the opportunity to do internships like other people because we were too busy preparing for Miss USA. We didn't have the opportunities to do certain things because we were so caught up thinking, okay, after Miss USA, we'll move to LA and we'll become, famous because our agent is going to book us for XYZ, and then we'll somehow get on a reality TV show.
Think about it for a second. What are the chances that 2 women competing for a crown in Colorado back in 2009 both rise into serious political positions around the same time? That's the question getting people talking non-stop. Some are saying it feels way too perfect, like thing lined up just a little too clean. Others are straight up questioning if it's really just coincidence at all. And now the conversation is shifting because to a growing number of people, this isn't looking random anymore. It's starting to look placed. Like both of them were being guided into certain spaces for a reason. And when you really look at where they ended up, it only adds more weight to the questions. One goes on to lead a major political organization after her husband's passing, while the other steps into a high-level legal role in Virginia. That's not something people can just brush off as a small coincidence. That's a serious climb on both sides, and people are noticing it. The similarities don't stop there either. Erika and Lindsay are nearly the same age, and both graduated from the same private Jesuit school in Colorado, Regis University. That overlap has people looking twice at how connected their paths really are, because it's starting to feel like those circles were always tight behind the scenes. Both names have also been linked over time to Trump, and conversations tied to Jeffrey Epstein have come up around those same circles.
Her mother herself, Lori, was a model, actually, at one point. So that hunger for Erika to get to the top, there is a connection just based on discussions I have had with multiple people to her mother. Erika is, without question, a climber. Okay. She is also, without question, willing to lie to make her mother look better. I mean, to say I grew up with a single mother is not true. So why is she saying it? Well, people suspect probably Lori is the person in her ear getting her to say that because it makes Lori look good. She wanted Erika to be famous, but let's not remove Erika from this. Erika desperately wanted to be famous.
In Erika's case, people point out that in 2018, she stepped into real estate with the Corcoran Group, despite not having a clear background in that field. That detail alone has raised questions for some observers. The situation gets even more intense for some because that company has been mentioned in publicly discussed records connected to Epstein. Now, that doesn't automatically prove anything on its own, but it definitely adds another layer that people keep bringing up when they look at the bigger picture. At this point, people aren't just focusing on names anymore. They're looking at patterns, timing, connections, and how everything seems to line up just a little too perfectly. And that's exactly why this conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon. When Erika stepped into that real estate role in 2018, critics were already raising eyebrows because of how sudden it felt. It didn't look like a slow career move. It looked like a jump. And when you stack that decision next to everything else, the pageants, the political ties, the shared networks, it starts to feel like a much bigger picture is forming. Now the conversation is shifting hard, and it's not just about coincidence anymore. People are asking if these moves were random or if they were carefully lined up over time to place certain individuals exactly where they needed to be. That's the question driving all this attention right now. At the same time, not everyone is buying into it. Some are pushing back, saying a lot of these claims are built on speculation and loose connections, not solid proof. And that point is getting repeated more as the conversation grows. But even with that pushback, the way these stories keep unfolding has people locked in, watching every new detail closely. Right at the center of it all is Erika. More clips, old records, and past associations are getting pulled into the spotlight, and it's making the whole situation feel way bigger than anyone first expected. What started off looking simple is now turning into something layered, messy, and honestly hard to ignore. And it doesn't stop there, not even close. More details keep stacking up, and this is where people really start raising their eyebrows. There are reports of multiple emails where agents from the Corcoran Group were allegedly reaching out to Jeffrey Epstein, offering him properties connected to the company.
The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like, it's just insane. We had over 275,000 people that attended, and the stadium overflow. We're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy.
That detail alone has people looking at everything sideways and questioning how deep those business connections might have gone. But then it gets even more complicated. Pamela Liebman, who was CEO of Corcoran during the time Erika worked there, also appears in publicly discussed records tied to Epstein. That connection is adding even more attention to an already intense situation. That connection is putting even more attention on Erika's time at the company, and now people are digging harder than ever into what may have been happening behind the scenes during that period. The spotlight is not fading. It's getting brighter. Now, shifting back to Erika's pageant history, things take another turn. Candace Owens has publicly claimed that Erika was not fully truthful about her timeline, saying the story doesn't line up the way it was originally presented. That statement alone stirred up a lot of reactions online. According to Candace, Erika had her eyes on fame from the very beginning. She also claimed that Erika's mother, Lori France, played a major role in pushing her into pageants early on. Those claims have added another layer to the conversation, especially as more people start looking into Erika's early years. There are also allegations being discussed about Lori having connections to intelligence circles, but it's important to note those claims are unverified and heavily debated. Still, that hasn't stopped people from bringing it up as they try to piece everything together. And the conversation isn't slowing down at all. Candace also pointed out that Lori was a former model, which adds yet another detail people are now factoring into the bigger picture. Then an old interview with Erika resurfaces, and this one really got people talking. In that interview, she openly talks about wanting fame and even dreaming of becoming a Hollywood actress. That clip is now being replayed everywhere, with people analyzing every word and trying to connect it back to everything else unfolding right now. That clip is making serious waves right now because she doesn't hold back at all. She straight up says she wanted to be in the spotlight and chase a future in Hollywood. On its own, that kind of ambition isn't unusual, but when people line it up with everything else, the pageants, the connections, the career moves, it starts getting viewed in a completely different way. Critics are saying this wasn't random, and arguing that everything points to a carefully built path designed to open doors in powerful circles. That idea is spreading fast and getting a lot of attention. On the flip side, supporters are pushing back just as hard. They're saying chasing success and fame is something a lot of people do, and it doesn't automatically mean there was some bigger plan behind it. That argument is keeping the debate alive and split right down the middle, and that's where the divide really shows. Even with all the back and forth, the timing of everything keeps raising eyebrows. From early pageant appearances to later political and business connections, people keep pointing out how the story seems to build step by step. The deeper people look, the more layers they think they're seeing. Right now, the spotlight is locked firmly on Erika, and every past interview, photo, and career move is being picked apart piece by piece. People are watching closely, waiting to see what comes out next. And even small details are being pulled back into focus. Like when it's mentioned that her mother, Lori, was a model actually, one point. That alone is now being added into the conversation as people continue connecting every possible dot. Whether all of this turns out to be coincidence or something more calculated, one thing is obvious. The attention around Erika is not slowing down anytime soon. If anything, it's getting louder, and more people are jumping into the conversation every single day. So really stop and think about this for a second. Do people honestly believe that someone like Erika, with a background in modeling circles, social scenes, and big entertainment ambitions, just randomly crossed paths with Charlie Kirk and everything naturally fell into place? That's the part a lot of people keep getting stuck on. Charlie was 5 years younger, and by his own words, he had very limited romantic experience at the time. He openly said Erika was his first serious relationship and the person connected to major milestones in his dating life. That detail is now being looked at very closely. Meanwhile, Erika's past, at least based on what people are discussing online, has been linked to men who are either well-known or connected to influential spaces. And that contrast is exactly why people keep talking. On one side, you have someone who is still very new to relationships. On the other side, you have someone who already seemed comfortable in circles tied to status, visibility, and access. That difference has people picking the situation apart from every angle, because to them, this doesn't look like some tiny detail you can just skip over. It looks like another piece in a bigger puzzle, and that's why every part of this story keeps getting dragged back into the spotlight. It looks important, and that's exactly why people won't stop talking about it. Some critics are even going as far as asking whether the relationship was purely personal or if there could have been other motivations involved. That question alone has sparked a wave of intense debate online. At the same time, others are pushing back hard. They're saying relationships don't always follow neat or predictable patterns, and unexpected pairings happen all the time. And to be fair, that point holds weight too. But the way this story is being framed online has turned it into a full-blown debate. Some people are calling it unlikely, while others insist it's being seriously overanalyzed. Either way, the discussion around Erika and Charlie is clearly not cooling off anytime soon. The more people dig into it, the more questions keep popping up. Because now, it's not just about who dated who anymore. It's about timing, access, and how quickly everything seemed to fall into place. That shift is what's keeping people locked in. Critics keep pointing out how fast Erika became part of Charlie's world. Stepping into a position close to someone rising quickly in political circles is not something people ignore. That kind of proximity brings visibility, influence, and a front-row seat to what's happening behind the scenes. That's why some online voices are framing it as strategic. They're suggesting that being close to a public figure like Charlie could open doors that might have stayed closed otherwise. That idea is gaining traction in certain circles. At the same time, others are calling that a stretch. They argue that relationships can move fast when both people are serious, and not every quick connection means there's some hidden agenda. And that clash of perspectives is exactly why this conversation keeps getting louder. But even with that pushback, the speculation isn't slowing down, it's getting louder. People are still connecting dots between Erika's past, her network, and the opportunities that seem to follow her. That pattern, real or not, is what keeps fueling the conversation. Now, people are trying to figure out if all of this is just coincidence or something more deliberate. And while there is no confirmed evidence backing the more extreme claims being thrown around, that part often gets lost in the noise online. Still, one thing is very clear. This story has turned into a full-blown debate, and it feels like everyone has an opinion on what really happened behind the scenes. The internet is split, and neither side is backing down. The receipts, at least according to critics, are being picked apart everywhere right now. People are going over timelines, past connections, and every small detail they can find. And the more they look, the more questions seem to pop up, keeping everyone locked in on what might come out next. They believe that when you line everything up step by step, the whole situation starts to look very calculated. That's the argument some people are pushing hard right now, and it's gaining attention fast. First comes what critics are calling the setup. At least that's how it's being framed. Charlie was known for being sharp, well-read, and rising quickly in political spaces, but socially he was still pretty inexperienced at just 24. He was already a national figure, yet his dating history was very limited before Erika entered the picture. And then Erika shows up. Former Miss Arizona USA, confident, polished, and knowing exactly what to say at the right time. Critics are saying that first impression mattered a lot, and they believe she came into that moment fully prepared. Not casually, but intentionally ready for the opportunity in front of her. At the same time, people are pointing to voices around Charlie, including figures like Tyler Bowyer, who they claim were telling him Erika was out of his league. That kind of outside pressure, mixed with everything else happening, is now being pulled into the spotlight as part of this bigger narrative. From there, things moved fast. The relationship escalated quickly, and once they got married, people started noticing a shift in Erika's public image. She began leaning into a more traditional lifestyle presentation, and that's exactly where the debate started heating up even more. Heating up, supporters say that kind of change is completely natural. People grow, priorities shift, and marriage can absolutely change how someone presents themselves. That side of the argument isn't going anywhere, but critics, they're not buying that so easily. They're arguing it looked more like a deliberate rebrand than a natural transition. And that idea is exactly what keeps people talking and going back and forth. Because once Erika stepped into that new role, critics say her entire image seemed to transform almost overnight. The pageant background, the entertainment ambitions, suddenly all of that faded into the background. And in its place came a much more polished, traditional persona that fit perfectly into Charlie's world. To some, that looks intentional. They're saying it's not easy to shift your image that cleanly unless it was planned ahead of time. That's the claim gaining traction in certain circles, but others are pushing back just as hard. They're saying people change all the time, and it doesn't automatically mean there was some deeper strategy behind it. And honestly, that pushback is a big reason why this debate feels so split right now. Still, the timing keeps raising eyebrows. The relationship moved fast, the marriage followed, and then the image shift came right after. That sequence has become one of the biggest talking points in this entire situation. Now people are zooming out and looking at the full timeline again, trying to connect every step, from pageants to politics to public image, and figure out whether it all fits together or if it's just being pieced together after the fact. Some people see a clear pattern forming, while others see a mix of coincidence and personal choices. Either way, the conversation isn't slowing down, and every new detail just pulls more attention into it. But things took an even heavier turn after Charlie's passing. Now people are looking at Erika in a completely different light, and the tone of the conversation has shifted fast. Some are saying this might be the real version of her stepping fully into the spotlight. And what happened next only made everything louder. Charlie passes away under tragic circumstances, and just 8 days later, Erika is placed as CEO of Turning Point. The board says this was planned, claiming Charlie wanted her ready to step in if anything ever happened. But critics are not buying that explanation at all. They're asking, was he really preparing his so-called traditional wife to run a multi-million-dollar political operation that quickly? Or was this something already set in motion long before anyone realized? Some are calling it a clean transition. Others are calling it something way more calculated. They argue this doesn't look like a typical succession plan. It looks like something that had been lined up for a long time. And then it gets even more intense. There are claims that Erika was caught on a hot mic talking about merch sales and calling Charlie's memorial the event of the century less than 2 weeks after he passed. That allegation is spreading fast and adding even more heat to an already explosive situation. Now, people are reacting strongly on both sides, with some demanding answers and others warning that not everything being shared has been verified. But regardless, the spotlight isn't moving anytime soon. That moment alone has people seriously questioning how genuine everything really was. It hit hard, and now the entire situation has people split with strong opinions on both sides. There's no clear agreement on what actually happened behind the scenes, and that uncertainty is what's keeping this story alive. Some are convinced it's all just a series of coincidences, while others believe it looks way more structured than it's being presented. And right now, that divide isn't going anywhere. So what do you think about all of this? Is it all just coincidence, or does it feel like something more calculated? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video, and stay tuned for what comes next.